What's up, my fellow vapors? Welcome to the new Moo of 2023, and today we're going to start it off with a bang, and we're going to talk about Blazer torches. For starters, we're going to go with the Blazer PB207, which is used with a Vatman, a Dynavap. Next, the CG001, which is basically like the PB207, went to the gym, got some armor, has what I thought to be a little bit of a bigger flame, and is really good for on the go because it's got this nice shell on the outside, and I use it for the Warhead, the Dynavap, and the Anvil. Where it can handle the Anvil, it should have a little extra juice for this, but it can do it. Next up, the Blazer Firefox. This one is the bigger brother to these two. It has a more powerful flame that is bigger and heftier. It has a flame lock that is finger activated and has a nice foot to stand up. This is a more at-home version, and this is the perfect torch for the Anvil. Last up, we have the Big Shot GT8000. This is the creme de la creme of the Blazer series, a fan favorite among enthusiasts in the dab world because this is basically what you would use to do dabs on a quartz banger or on a titanium nail. It's got a big flame, really hot, really powerful. So for starters, we're going to go with the PB207. This has honestly become my tried and true everyday torch. Great fuel capacity, really efficient when it comes to the way that it uses the fuel, and as you can see, it's see-through, so it's really easy to tell how full your torch is of butane. And the PB207, some of the key features are it's got this protective cap over it, which I really like to protect the nozzle. It has a flame lock, which can lock the flame on. It's got a really easy flame adjust here on the side. Not like one of those ones that you have to screw on the bottom, which are always kind of hard to deal with. The one downside to the PB207, which is easily fixable, is it does have this extra lock, which you kind of got to push up as you push down on the button. You know, child safety and all that. It is really easy to just snap that part off. Let's check out the flame. You just push down, lock the flame on. So this is at its smallest setting. It's about an inch, and you can turn it on, and it goes up a little bit, but not that much, and that's at its highest setting there. So this particular lighter is what I use on its low setting for my Vatman. A good tip that they give on the Vatman website is when you start your torch and size it up, I'm going to put it on the lowest setting. It should be about the same size as the bottom of this ring there. So the PB207 on its lowest setting is perfect for the Vatman. Just turn that flame lock off. And then also on its highest setting, the PB207 comes in clutch, super clutch for the Dynavap. And I just, at the tip of the flame, point it right there. And you get a pretty good heat up time. This is where you get your single hit extractions with the Dynavap. And on this, like using it like this for Dynavaps, the fuel lasts forever because you can see this really beefy fuel tank there. Just as a general note for all Blazers, they have a really good warranty. So if anything ever happens to it, you can send it into Blazer, and they're really good about their warranties. That is the Blazer PB207 in its kind of just most basic stock form. They do have a couple variations when it comes to color. So they do offer a couple different colors. While this is really cool and I do love me some pink, the one downside to this is you actually can't tell the fuel capacity. So this is my at-home one because I don't like to be out and about and not be able to check the fuel capacity and know how much I have left in my torch. They do offer an industrial version. The industrial version comes with this little stand, which is pretty cool. And while it does have a solid body up here, it has a clear bottom, which lends to it being really useful because now you kind of get the best of both worlds, a solid color and to see how much fuel you have left in there. The other big thing to note on the industrial version is you see how the button is actually squared off on this one because it is missing the child safety. I guess they figure that there are going to be no children in the industrial torch market, and that wraps up the PB207. So quick recap, you got the standard version. It's got a child safety lock, flame lock, really good fuel capacity. You have a colored, and then you have the industrial one, which is a more squared off button, no child safety, same flame lock, and you can see the fuel, and you get an extra little stand. So this one is going to be, usually runs about $10 more than these ones because of probably the little stand, and it's just an industrial version. And the flame on the industrial version is still about the same as the PB207 regular one. All right, well, moving on from the PB207, we go to the bigger brother to the PB207, the CG001. This is like if the PB207 went to the gym and worked out and got this like dope armor on the outside. The biggest difference here is going to be the outer housing. Super solid. I like taking this one on hikes and out into the nature because it's got a nifty little keyring loop here, very protected. I'm not worried about dropping it on the ground or anything. And this is going to be more similar to if they took the industrial PB207 and crammed it inside of an armor box. The one thing that you give up going to the CG001 is the flame lock. There is no flame lock, so you do have to hold the button the entire time that you want the lighter on. And this one has a slightly bigger flame than the PB207, about, just a quarter click, a little longer. So this allows you to kind of take one step further up the vape chain here, and while on its lowest settings I use it for Dynavaps, on its highest setting it can handle a warhead, and it can also handle an anvil. Now, what I'll say about on an anvil is it does take a little bit extra longer to heat up comparatively to the next step, which I'll talk about in just a second. So while it does work, I feel like the anvil needs just a little bit extra oomph than the CG001, but for an on-the-go situation, it works great for the Dynavap and or the warhead. Next up, we have one of my favorite in the Blazer lines, the Firefox. So this is where it starts to get a lot hotter and the flame gets a lot bigger and bolder, where these ones were kind of similar. Once you jump up to the Firefox, now you're talking for things like the warhead, the anvil, and small bangers. It can do small bangers. I wouldn't try and heat up a big, hot, heavy banger with it, but it can do it. It does actually, with cold starts, is pretty good because it's very pointed. So when you do a cold start dab, it's really easy to point just where you want the heat. This is also a Blazer Firefox. There's two screws on the bottom that I removed the foot and outer sheath with. I did this for my on-the-go version. This is what I keep in my bag. Where this one is a little different than the PB207, it does have the child safety lock here, but on this one, the flame lock is this cool little trigger thing. So once you push up on that, push down here, you can flip that up and the flame stays on, and you just clip the button down to turn it off. Because this is my on-the-go one, I left the child safety lock attached. For my one that's for at-home use, I left the foot on because it's on a desk a lot more instead of floating around in my bag, as well as I cut the child safety lock off because when I'm at home, I don't have kids running around my place, so I don't need to worry about that, or I don't need to worry about accidental depressions in my bag on the go. So we'll put this on its lowest setting, and really you need to bump it up for this one on its lowest setting. If it's all the way down, sometimes it won't ignite, so you just turn it up a little bit to turn the gas on, and that's its lowest setting. And then we can turn it up, and you can see this gets to a pretty good size torch flame. And as I said, this is what I would use 100% for the warhead. I think this is the best torch for the warhead or any sort of nectar collector type device like that. This is also top tier torch for the anvil on its lowest or kind of close to lowest setting. It creates a flame. That really fits inside of this gap here, right above the thermal battery, and I get really, really good hits off of the anvil and the Firefox. Now moving up to the big mama of devices from Blazer. This is their tank, their big rocket launcher of a torch. This one is primarily used for dabbing. You would essentially melt these devices using this big of a torch, so you really wouldn't want to use this anything except for your quartz bangers or your, titanium nails or any sort of dab device like that. For a torch this size, it does have really good fuel efficiency. However, you do need to fill it up if you're dabbing every day. You're always filling this thing up, which is understandable, just because of it's a butane torch of this size. And I'll show you the flame here, but it does crank out the fuel. So to make this one work, there are no safeties, no nothing. They figure if you got a torch like this, just keep it away from kids. You turn this knob to turn the fuel on and then depress the button to ignite it, which is a little different than the lower ones where it ignites and turns the fuel on at the same time. So you do have to be careful that when you are done using it, please make sure that this is all the way tight and not leaking any fuel out. So here, let's give it a go. You can hear the gas start to escape. Click it. I always barely, so that's another good thing, is I always barely turn it on just till I hear that hiss, and then I turn it on. And if I want to turn it up, that's when I turn it up from there. So that's it at full flame. As you can see, it's almost the full length of my mat here. And that's what you would use to get a banger hot like this. It's got a good flame width and length to really let you soak the whole banger up. And you can get really good quick heat ups. It's a really hot torch, the Blazer GT 8000 Big Shot. Lastly, this is one of the cool things about the Blazer Big Shot. Since it has so much traction in the community, there are a lot of cool upgrades like this nozzle guard, or very cool makers that do wood feet and knobs and leather covers for the outside of this. Hopefully looking to upgrade to some of those in the near future, so keep your eyes peeled for a Pimp Your Big Shot Out video coming out. I just wanted to give a shout out to my friend Omega, who was the big reason behind convincing me to get a Big Shot in the first place. Also, he was super cool and made me an awesome Big Shot accessory, the heat shield that I first had and sported on my Big Shot for a while. So thanks to Omega. And that wraps up the Blazer line. If you guys have any questions or want to talk about Blazer accessories, PB207s, or anything, hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think of Blazers, or even if you think there's a torch that outdoes the Blazer, let me know, because I have yet to find one that does any better than Blazers. And as always, stay lifted.